Okay, Allison, I'm so happy that you're here.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So everybody, this is Alison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy. How do I look in the frame?
Yeah, how do we look?
Okay. The founder of Homeworthy. And so I just want to kick this off with, well, first of all, I want to say that everyone I have on Tell a Sister, it's a very selfish endeavor because I saw the videos that you have on YouTube, on your Homeworthy channel, and I was immediately hooked. And I think that's because you're just an amazing storyteller and you tell stories through people's homes. And that's something that my great-grandmother spoke about a lot in her decorating. She would, decorate for all these extremely fancy, famous people, and when she would go into their houses, she'd want to make sure that she told their story correctly, and she really just made them feel good and comfortable and proud of who they were. So tell us, so I saw your channel, and I saw all these really interesting people with these extremely interesting homes, and okay, I want to know more about Alison and how you came to produce Homeworthy.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, so Homeworthy is a media brand that I founded a few years ago that seeks to tell stories around homes featuring sort of extraordinary interiors and the fascinating people behind them.
Yes.
But in order to get to that place, I had a 10-year plus career prior to that in television.
Okay.
The last 7 years were spent at Good Morning America,
Okay.
where I was a producer, and I covered everything from breaking news stories to feature news.
Okay.
So that would include I went down to Miami and I produced interviews with The Rock or
Right.
with other celebrities or the Met Gala or Wimbledon.
Right.
So a lot of fun stories, and it was from sort of the inception of the idea,
Yes.
and then watching it come to fruition through sitting in the edit bay. So everything that happens in between. So writing the script, coming up with the questions, figuring out how you're going to make this piece visual and how you're going to make it come to life. So
Yes.
I loved that job and I loved doing that, and I really consider myself a storyteller.
Yes.
But I always had this passion for design.
Right.
And I wanted to combine these two passions of storytelling and sort of this love for interior design. So I founded Homeworthy, and
Yes.
it's really focused sort of on video.
Right.
Less on photos, but I certainly have a component of that on the website, but it's really storytelling through videos.
Yes. And so when you choose who you want to interview or choose whose house that you want to go into or be invited into, so say they agree and they say, okay, fabulous, we'd love for you to come in.
Yep.
How do you kind of begin that conversation? How do you pull, I think sometimes it's so hard to get people talking.
Sure.
How do you make them open up about their house?
Well, one of two ways. Sometimes so I'm like an internet sleuth. So I scour the internet looking on Instagram or TikTok or other social media platforms, or just on, websites for magazines. And I look for people who have perhaps already been published but don't have a video component to it. Because I think even if somebody's been published.
So that's a really good point. Let me cut you off for 1 second.
Yeah.
So for all the designers watching, I think that if you're interested in this, I want you to listen, because if you've been published,
you can still do video.
You can still do video, and I have to say there's something, we've talked about this a little bit, how video just captures this essence that you can't capture through photography. It's an amazing accompaniment to photography.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think accompaniment is a good word too, because I think video can capture something in a very authentic way.
Right.
I know that that's a word that you and I keep using, an
Yes.
authentic way, and also in a really honest way.
Right.
And I also think, at least for me, I have a genuine curiosity about who a person is.
Yes.
And even how they talk or how they move with their hands or how
Yes.
they walk through their own home, or they might see something on the wall that wasn't featured in the magazine, but there's a great story attached to this piece of art. So I think that you get a deeper, more intimate look through video.
Can you go in people's drawers?
I could if I asked. I don't know if they
Closets?
say yes. Oh, I do love a closet tour.
Yeah.
I love a closet tour.
Have you done any closet tours?
Well, I have asked some folks if they could show me inside. Yeah, I filmed with a host of Antique Roadshow who has a fabulous apartment in Gramercy Park. It's like 27-foot cathedral ceilings, massive windows, gargoyles. Anyway, he's also like very fabulous, and he wears tartan and tweed and has probably like 80 suits. Yeah, he pulled back the curtain. He showed me his closet.
Amazing.
Yeah.
See, that's the sort of thing that you might not be able to capture in photography, or it might just not make it into the magazine because, we might get a little off topic looking at the clothes or...
True. And there's also limited space in a magazine for a spread. But with a video, you can go 10, 12 minutes or longer.
Yes.
One of my videos was 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It was a fascinating woman who had incredible stories. She was a former editor at Vogue.
Okay.
And then she went on to found Scout, which is this great bag company. She lives in a wonderful house in Georgetown, sort of this historic home. And she had so many stories and so many things to talk about.
Yes.
She had electric yellow walls in one room and green walls in another. And she had an entire gallery wall filled with her kids' art.
Yeah.
That were all framed in gold frames. So, there was a lot to talk about.
Yes. I know. That's a thing too. I think that I love being on set, and I think for me, I'm just starting to learn more about video. We did this one kind of more produced video at our house in Maine, and it was a whole new thing for me. I actually felt really uncomfortable because I'd never done it before.
Yeah, but you get more comfortable as you do it, so don't worry.
No, but I think as you do have to kind of, when you're photographing a space, it's totally different than filming because I think you mentioned before we got on the live about how you kind of have to move through the rooms in a way where it's natural to how you move through the rooms in real life.
Sure.
You don't want it to be too produced.
Right, and I think people are looking for not terribly produced content. So what I tell people when I walk into their home is I tell them, just pretend like I'm a friend who's never been to your home before, and you are giving me sort of a tour of your place. When you go to somebody's house for a cocktail party, a dinner party, and you never in there and say, let me give you a tour.
Yes.
That's what I want to capture through video.
Yes.
And I tell people, this is not live. I mean, so much of what I did at Good Morning America was getting people comfortable in front of the camera.
Right.
So, that's what I do for people who I profile.
Yes.
And I say, if you're not happy with something, we'll do it again.
Yes. No, that is a really good, live is a little stressful. Yes, I think that was something that when we were in Maine, I definitely was nervous, and it definitely took me a few days to figure it all out. But I realized
it didn't show.
Okay, thanks so much.
Yeah.
So I have a few other questions that I definitely want to get to. So as we're talking about, we can also just circle back to what I just said because I just got you all off topic. Okay, so when you scour the internet and you look for designers that might have already been published who might want to let you in.
Sure.
Who else do you look for?
I also just look for people who I think have sort of an eclectic sense of style. Maybe that's just from talking to a friend.
Yeah.
And say, oh, you have to film with so-and-so.
Yes.
And then I'll get on the phone with them and we'll talk through maybe some of their stories and see if they're even open to it.
Yes.
So, I think as long as they have a personality that will sort of thrive on camera, and then also have a space that they're willing to show off, that's like the perfect match.
Totally.
And I've certainly filmed with people who have never thought before of doing any kind of video.
Yes.
And then they see the finished product and they're thrilled. And in some ways, it's like a keepsake for them.
Yes.
Because, say they end up moving, they have this permanent little time capsule of their home on video that they can always look back and reference. And it's funny because I filmed actually with a gentleman who is the deputy director of the National Gallery of Art. And he has an unbelievable collection of rare books and art and just things that he's collected for years. And he will get stopped on the street because so many people have now seen this video in Washington, D.C., which is where he lives. And they'll say, I know that you're home.
What a gift.
And he's like, why did you see my...
Yeah.
And then he forgets that he's done the video. And he's like, okay, now I remember why.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of looking for people who have already been published, plus just talking to friends or acquaintances, and they find out what I do and they propose somebody who might have a great house.
Okay. Because I think this is so interesting right now because I think now more than ever, and we kind of spoke about this a little bit before, we've seen so many different home tours over the years, but I think that there's this new type of, a new sort of style of film, a style that's more authentic and more less about a room where all of the photographs been wiped away and all the collections are gone. It's just kind of a more sterile space that where the design is completely infused with the collections and like with the objects that the owner has cold deer or with the photographs of the kids. And I think that's something that you're doing so well at Homeworthy.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that at Sister Parish Design, I know a lot of people who are watching now and a lot of our clients really value that type of design, how to use what you already own, what you already have, and how to really showcase your own collection. So I think that that's something that's really interesting about Homeworthy.
And that's where the stories are.
Yes.
The stories are in the family pieces, or they are,
Yeah.
and that's what makes something so compelling.
Yes, I totally agree. So I want you to put yourself in a designer's shoes.
Sure.
Because I want to speak a little bit. Well, first of all, design enthusiast designers, you should just watch Homeworthy because it's totally inspiring. So please go and watch the videos after this, just either tonight with a glass of wine,
Quite the plug, thank you.
Yeah, no, but I also wanted to kind of just give some advice because at Sister Parish, we've been trying to teach ourselves a lot about film, like how to let people in an authentic way, but also in a really beautiful way, and how to be better storytellers. And I think it does take a lot of practice, and you've had years of experience. And so, can you just put yourself in a designer's shoes? Say they have some finished projects, and their client says, "Have at it! Like you can come into my house,
Sure.
and you can show." And this would be a totally different type of thing because this is the designer coming in and showing how their work, like how maybe they showed off that specific collection,
Sure.
or how they made this children's room, this magical children's room, because the child has this, imagination about X, Y. How, if they were to say, their client says, go for it, can you give them some advice?
Sure, and is this something that would live permanently on a website or something like that?
It would,
so maybe it's an introductory video, sort of explaining who the designer is to potentially a new audience of people who may not know them, right?
Yes.
So I think you sort of want to have your talking points kind of already lined up.
Yes.
Beats you want to hit upon.
Okay.
You don't want anything too staged, but you just want to sort of know what you're talking about.
Okay.
And I think that those sort of talking points that hit on who the designer is, how far they go back in terms of what's their history, what's their story. Essentially, that's what you want to capture is who is this person and what is their story.
So you want to tie the designers, so you're kind of tying the designers, what the designer needs to talk about themselves.
Exactly.
Which is always maybe some kind of an awkward thing for a designer. I'm just kind of speaking from experience. So the designer wants to talk about themselves and how they, maybe their education in X, Y, or the way they brought up has maybe inspired them to become a designer, and now that they like to help people design their own houses, kind
exactly.
of thing.
And then you can pair it with a little bit of video, say it's either your showroom or say it's your own personal home that you want to showcase.
Yes.
And I think people would appreciate
so
that.
start there.
An inside look. And then you can also edit in some of your professionally shot photographs, and you can talk to, I did this project in X place or this project in Y place, and you can talk about that, and those photos can then be woven into
That's
the
a way
piece.
better way of doing it, yeah.
Because essentially, you want constant visuals. You never want to be just a talking head on the camera with nothing to look at. You always want to keep people engaged.
Right.
And a way to keep people engaged is for them to constantly be having something to look at.
Okay, we probably need more things to look at here.
Yeah.
But
No!
So if you're new to Homeworthy, what videos would you recommend watching first?
Okay, so I did one in Georgetown, which is actually where I grew up.
Okay.
So I grew up in this historic neighborhood, and I grew up in an old home, which is sort of where I developed my love for old homes and creaky floors and tall ceilings and that kind of thing. And I filmed with a really fabulous couple who are just hilarious together, and they live in this 200-year-old home, and the way they banter back and forth and the way they talk about their own items, I mean, you feel like you're sitting there and you need a bag of popcorn and a glass of wine, like you're watching a comedy show. And one of my favorite things that they said to me, I said, Sydney, what is your sort of design aesthetic, or how do you decorate? And he looks at me dead in the eye and he goes, we don't decorate.
Yeah.
So I love them. I love some places.
What's it called, the episode?
Maybe hilarious couple, 200-year-old home or something like that. Okay. I loved my piece with the deputy director of the National Gallery of Art, because he's got wonderful stories to share about how he grew up. I filmed with actually a photographer here in New York. Her name is Ali Provost.
Okay.
She's got quite a following on social media, and she has this sweet little studio. She's actually since moved, but she takes me into her closet and she shows me through her bags. She opens up her drawer, which is completely filled with headbands.
I love that. That I always want to look at people's drawers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I love that kind of inside peek. So I really create videos around studio apartments or, sprawling country estates.
Right.
I don't discriminate. Price point doesn't matter to me. Character matters
so
to me.
you're going to find a diverse, basically it's very diverse, I'd say, when you go into the Homeworthy.
And I think video is something that everybody should kind of experiment with.
So what do you, so say you're just new to this and want to create your own videos. Do you just need an iPhone or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So
is there anything else you suggest, like any sort of lighting?
You don't need lighting per se. You could kind of get like a gimbal situation,
Okay.
which is what your iPhone can sit in, and it stabilizes itself so that when you're moving through a space, it's smooth.
Okay.
And if you are doing things where you're talking to camera, you could get one of those ring lights.
Okay.
Which always helps with like beautiful lighting. No, but honestly, when I first started Homeworthy, I started filming on my iPhone.
Okay.
I had a little audio kit because sometimes audio isn't picked up that well on iPhones. But what I find actually is having minimal equipment.
Okay.
Is a benefit.
Okay.
Because sometimes when you show up and you have a lot of equipment, people get nervous.
Right.
And what you don't want is for people to be nervous. You want them to show their true selves.
Totally.
And to do that, you don't want huge camera and lights in front of them.
Yes.
So an iPhone is actually pretty innocuous.
Okay.
So absolutely, it's fine to just film on an iPhone.
Okay. And then also, what about just other platforms like TikTok, for example? Because I know that you're big on TikTok, and I know a lot of our followers aren't currently on TikTok, but it's something I've been really interested in. Can you just tell us a little bit, because you know more about it than I do?
Well, so I was one of these people that initially thought, okay, I am way too old to be on TikTok. I'm like borderline millennial, but not really.
Yeah.
And I thought this is just for like 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
And then during the pandemic, I experimented with it. And the first video I think I ever put on TikTok, or at least the first video that kind of went viral, was I lived in an apartment. It was a 6th-floor walk-up on the Upper West Side. And it was the very top floor. Yeah. And we had these floor-to-ceiling windows, and we had this big terrace, so it was lovely, but it was like a workout to get out there. Yes. So I just filmed a 60-second video from the front door, giving no audio. I didn't even talk. I just showed people what the inside looked like, and then I ended up on the terrace showing the view of Manhattan. Yes. And it had 5.9 million views or something crazy like that. And I did absolutely nothing special except show people my apartment. Right. And that's all they want to see. Right. And then it got shared and shared and shared and shared and shared. Yes. And I think that for people who might be a little bit timid about TikTok, I would just say embrace it. Try it. It was the most downloaded app of 2020 and of 2021. Yes. And I think that apps like Instagram are trying to compete. I think Instagram has a very loyal following and will always be around, but I think that they are photo-based and are trying now to compete with TikTok through video. Right. And there's something about TikTok that in some ways is authentic. You're seeing a more raw form of video, which I really think is what people are craving today. Yes. I agree. I think also something like that, if you see how popular it is, in just a couple of years, more people of maybe our generation, older, are going to be on TikTok. So it's good to get ahead of it and just learn a little bit more about it, because it just does, as we all know, this all takes time. And you never know what's going to stick and what's going to go viral and what's not. Right. And in some ways, I don't really know who my audience is on TikTok the same way I know who they are on Instagram. Yes. So you do feel a little bit more free to experiment. Yes. To see what works and what doesn't. Totally. That's the other thing I think that I also feel kind of, even on Instagram, I do think there's something about it that I love. There's a freedom in the experimentation where I can always take it down. Right. So if it doesn't work out, I can always take it down. Okay, so I'm trying to think what we should end on. What I would like to end on, can you tell us, what's a question that I really want to know? Can you tell us a little bit about what your dream, based off of like who you are, who your husband is, you have a young son, what would be your ideal living situation in New York City? Oy. And then we'll end there. What would my idea? You know what? This is a tough question, and this is a conversation that my husband and I talk about every other week, and we're like, are we having this conversation again?
Yeah.
So I lived in New York for 10 years when I was a kid. We left. I grew up mostly in Washington, and now I'm back. So I've probably lived in New York City collectively for half of my life.
Okay.
And this is a city that I love dearly. But it's also a city where I feel like my husband and I are constantly having the conversation, are we going to stay? Are we going to go? Are we going to stay? Are we going to go? And because of that, we've never committed to, in some ways, to sort of to buying a place. So we rent and we rent and we rent. And I just feel like I may just die here continuing to rent, because every year I think we might leave. And we never leave because we love it so much. So I don't know.
You don't know the
That's
answer.
a good
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. But but I love it here, and I love it for so many reasons. And one of the reasons is just that you never know what's behind. There are so many places to profile, so many interesting people to find. And when I walked into that gentleman's apartment in Gramercy, just a world opened up to me that it was so special to get a peek inside. And I just think that, it's really generous.
But that is the great thing about New York City.
Yeah.
You'll be walking down the street, you have no idea what's going on behind those doors.
No
or
idea.
what's inside.
No idea.
But I always see the lights on in fancy neighborhoods, and all I want to do is put my nose up to the glass. Yeah.
Knock on the door
So
and say,
Alison might be knocking.
Yes, please always reach out if you want your home featured or have somebody interesting to be featured. I just have to say, I love what you've done to the studio.
Thank you. It's a work in progress, and we will be showing it, the full installation, to all of you very soon. And Alison, thank you so much for joining us at Tell a Sister.
Well, thank you. I've had such a fangirl moment talking to you and being in the presence of such incredible women and a brand that your great-grandmother created. It was a pioneer for all of us.
Women in business.
Women in business.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for watching. You're such a good interviewer.
Oh, thanks.